You are 13 years old, you are building a business, and most people at 13 years old are worried about their homework, but you are worried about fixing the education system.
Currently, the skills that we learn in school would have helped us maybe 50 years ago. When you're in school, you have a more first-hand experience of what it's like, so then I can shape the business based on what school's like.
So you're just essentially using school as customer research.
Sort of, in a way, yeah.
Smart.
I feel like TikTok's very 40-year-old Dan from Western Sydney. It shouldn't be up to the government to decide what all people under 16 do.
Tell me a little bit about what you're building now.
I'm building an online education platform that teaches teens real-world skills that they don't learn or rarely learn at school. Content creation, tech, AI, coding, mindset, productivity. And you learn from creators, entrepreneurs, innovators that are really good at what they do, or they've actually done it in their field.
A lot of people that would be listening to this would go, you're 13 years old, surely your mum and dad are helping you out and doing all of the heavy lifting and the work. How much are mum and dad involved?
0. I would script a video the night before, I go to school, I film it, I edit it, and I post it.
If I gave you the microphone, there's the Minister of Education on the other side of this microphone, and you had 60 seconds, what would you tell them? Alby, welcome to Top of Mind. I'm so excited to have you on because you are 13 years old, you are building a business, and most people at 13 years old are worried about their homework and that's about it. But you are worried about fixing the education system. Can you tell me why you're looking at tackling such a big problem?
I think I noticed such a big gap in the education system. I was just learning things that felt so useless and irrelevant. Not necessarily useless. I mean, there's still base skills that you need, like math, science, English, but not those skills that set us up for the future, because we're in sort of an evolving world where there's business, AI, content creation, finance, and school doesn't teach those sort of future-ready skills that we need to set us up for success in the future. So that's why I sort of tackled this big problem.
Yeah. And was there a moment in time that you were that you realised that this was something that you wanted to do? Was there something that just kind of clicked for you?
Well, I remember in terms of an aha moment, I remember we have a poem, an assessment task that we're doing in school, and we have to memorise a poem and write and answer questions on it. And that just felt really sort of irrelevant, and I would forget the poem 2 days later. So it's just not teaching us those really useful skills that I think I would genuinely need to thrive in the real world when I finish school.
Yeah. Now, you've said on some of your content, because as I said to you before, I follow all of your TikTok content and your Instagram content. I love it.
Yeah.
You've said on some of your content that the education system is broken. You're still at school, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the gap between, what do you think schools will have to do to fill that gap?
I think schools will have to focus more on the future, because currently the skills that we learn in school would have helped us maybe 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But the world's always changing, business is always changing, new technology, and school doesn't keep up with that. And I know it's a big task to keep up with that, but they should be putting in a bit more effort to keep up with it, because, AI, if you don't know how to use AI properly in the next couple of years, you'll probably just be left behind. So school not teaching that to us as a skill is a big missed opportunity, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So there's lots of people, and I was talking to people about you coming on this podcast today, and I was saying he's 13 years old, he's starting a business, he's tackling the education system. And so many people said to me, oh my gosh, I think about that all the time. The education system is broken. But none of them have gone on to start a business to tackle that problem. What prompted you to start a business?
I think it's because before I had a grip socks business that I worked on with my mum, and that was grip socks for soccer. So then I started getting really into business, and I also made videos for the brand, which was called Alpha Grips. And that sort of, made me sort of fall sort of in love with the process of starting and running a business. But when it comes to like why this particular business, it was more I'm currently in school, so I know what it's like firsthand. So I know what needs to be done to help kids learn those skills that they aren't being taught in school because I'm in it right now. So it just felt like such a big gap that needed to be filled.
I love that. Tell me about your grip sock business. So again, how old were you when you came up with that idea?
Like 11 or 12, I think.
Stop.
Yeah.
And what made you come up with that idea?
Well, it is a pretty saturated market because, well, it was my first business, but in soccer, when you wear normal socks, your foot kind of slides around and you get blisters and stuff. So there's grip on the bottom of your sock to stop you from sliding around. So that's why I started that with the help of my mum, of course. But yeah, that's sort of how my business journey started, I guess.
What did you learn about in that business that you've now taken into building your next business?
Not everything's like perfect.
Yeah.
Like that business sort of failed miserably. But yeah, nothing goes to plan at all. So
did you learn a lot from it though?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you learn that you're now taking into that business, this business that you're running? Quick pause for a second. I just want to quickly interrupt to ask you one thing. If you are loving the content that you are listening to, make sure you hit subscribe or leave a review. I want to keep these podcast episodes ad-free for as long as possible, and the only way that I can do that is by you guys subscribing or leaving a great review or sharing it with a friend. So that's all I ask of you today. Now back to the episode.
How social media works, how to make videos, how to market a product, and definitely just building a business plans, all that sort of stuff, building a product. Because that was definitely what I learned.
Yeah. Now, with building a business, not many 13-year-olds, actually not many 30-year-olds can say that they've built two businesses, right?
Yeah.
And I think if someone is starting a business now and they're listening to this podcast, what's one piece of advice for you that you would give to them?
Probably keep going, because a lot of people, like if you make content, a lot of people will find it cringe or that you're trying to be something you're not, or starting a business, people will just tell you to give up or stop. But 99% of people do stop and then they fail. So if you just keep going, then you'll be fine.
I love that. That's honestly, it's the piece of advice that I say, and I had this conversation with Talia on an earlier episode as well, is that so many people think that it happens overnight, and it doesn't, There's so many businesses that are grinding for like 4, 5, 6 years behind the scenes, and then overnight their business blows up and people are like, oh, they just blew up overnight, and people don't realize that they've actually been working for many years with no results for then it to happen kind of what seems like overnight. Now, if you had the chance to redesign school, I said to you tomorrow, you have the chance to redesign how school looks in Australia.
Yeah.
What would you include to make it more future focused?
More skills that we're going to need for the future, stuff like AI, because as I said before, if you don't know how to use AI properly in the new sort of evolving world, you're just going to be left behind. And, we're also sort of moving into a sort of creator-led economy with people like it used to be brands going to influencers and the influencers market their product. Now it's sort of creators build a following and then make their own brand, and like Ryan Trahan with Joyride or Mr. Beast with Feastables. So I think sort of we're moving into that new creator-led economy, so learning how to build a personal brand on social media is important. So, and business as well. We do learn like commerce and stuff at school, but it's very textbook heavy and 50 years ago. And business is always changing with new tech and the exact same thing for finance and stuff. So more future-ready skills, but even skills that are still currently in school but just evolved, like, to keep up with what it is now.
I agree. I always say one thing that school that I felt was like taxes, paying your tax and what superannuation is and all of those things are. You don't really learn about those at school, but they're really, really practical things to have whether you own a business or not. Understanding how you get paid by an employer or how you manage your money growing up as well. You don't really get taught that in school either. And I think that that's super helpful. Tell me a little bit about what you're building now.
So I'm building an online education platform that teaches teens real world skills that they don't learn or rarely learn at school. Stuff like, business, content creation, tech, AI, coding, mindset, productivity, all that sort of stuff, to really, and you learn from like top creators, entrepreneurs, innovators that are really good at what they do, or they've like actually done it in their field. So that's sort of what the business is. But yeah.
Amazing. What's it called?
Finkel.
Finkel.app. Finkel.app. Now tell me how you came up with it. I saw your piece of content, your TikTok post around how hard it is to come up with a business name. Do you think that that's probably one of the hardest things in business?
Yeah.
Why?
You have to find the right domain name.
Yeah.
You have to find the right name. Like I was going on all those because I was running out of ideas. So the AI generating names. So yeah, it is the hardest part.
How long did it take you to come up with Finkel?
Probably from when I first started building the business until about a couple weeks ago. So probably that's like a year or like 8 months. So yeah.
That's crazy. But you've locked in Finkel.
Yeah.
How did you come up with Finkel?
So I actually am building the platform with a guy from California, and we were sort of looking for names, and he came up with a name that was sort of like Finkel, but it didn't really roll off the tongue because you want your name to roll off the tongue like Nike and Adidas and stuff. And Finkel, fidget and think, and .app was the domain we chose. So yeah.
I love that. Now you're talking about building in public. And I think I feel like it's a bit of a buzzword, right? Of building in public. Like everyone seems to be building in public. Why have you decided to build your business in public?
I think, again, from the creator-led economy, people are not really buying because of the brand. They're buying because of the person. So I sort of wanted to start building in public because I want to share my journey, because when you show behind the scenes of building the business, that builds more loyal followers, which then builds more loyal customers. So, and it's also just inspiring other people. Yeah. But yeah.
I love that. Now, you're still at school and you've come from school today, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It is the afternoon, almost evening. What does a typical day in the life, I know you share your day in the life sometimes, and I saw your day in the life of going to see Tyler, the creator.
Yeah.
What does a normal day look like when you're not going to see Tyler, the creator, and you're not recording a podcast? What does a normal day look like for you?
So I normally come home from school, and then the day before I would have like scripted a video already. So then I'll just have the script ready. I'll film a video, I'll edit it, and I'll post it. And then I'll sort of get into some more like deep sort of work with working on the business plan, pitch decks for investors, refining the site, customer conversations with customers, like calls, and then later I'll go to soccer training and come back and get ready and go to sleep and repeat. But yeah.
It's crazy. Do you feel like you ever have time to just relax?
Not during the week, no, but because school takes up a big chunk. But on the weekends, in like 6 p.m. I have time.
Fair. Now tell me, you're trying to solve the problem with the education system.
Yeah.
Right? But you're still at school.
Yeah.
Why are you still at school? if you're trying to solve the problem that the education system doesn't teach you a lot? Did mum and dad?
Mainly because my parents want me to stay in school.
I think that's very valid.
But also when you're in school, you have a more first-hand experience of what it's like. So then I can shape the business based on what school's like because I experience it every day.
So you're just essentially using school as customer research.
Sort of, in a way, yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
You're making good. I mean, so many businesses that are children focused or kid focused or school focused would love to spend a whole day at school and speaking to school students. So you have firsthand access to those people, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
That's crazy. Now, what is the hardest thing out of your entire business journey, which sounds crazy me saying that because you're 13 years old, but your entire business journey, your business before, your grip socks and building Finkel, what's the hardest thing that you've had to go through? If you are loving this episode, don't forget to leave a comment or hit that subscribe button. You have no idea how much it means for podcasters like me to get a like or subscribe, because it means that we can get better guests and we can get into more ears of people to help talk to them about marketing, social media, and personal branding. Now back to the episode.
Probably that first video. I mean, because I remember Frank Grief told me to start building in public as well. So I went home, I made a video, and it was probably sitting in my drafts for like a couple hours. But yeah, just thinking about what people would say at school, making sure I watched the video like a million times to make sure it was as good as I could get it. And it wasn't very good. It was my first video, but I think that first video was the hardest part. And also just not quitting because, you just want to play video games or something or chill that arvo. But I think the mindset is you sort of have to, because if you don't, then everything will sort of fall apart. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, from what I can understand about you and from the content that I've seen, you seem like a kid that is just so keen to go out and get something or do something, or just you put your mind to something and you go and do it. Has that always been the case, or is it something that like your mum and dad have taught you growing up, or someone in your life has kind of instilled in you?
I don't really remember or know if anyone's instilled it on me, but I mean, when I first started playing soccer, I remember it was ages ago, it was a YouTube video and I watched it on Ronaldo or something, and then I started playing soccer and I trained like every day, and I went to the park at like 5 a.m. in a local park to train before school. I obviously don't, play as much soccer now, but I think, when I really want to do something, I do it as much as I can so I can get better at it.
Do you think you've always been like that? You're just born like that?
No. I think it's, you're not really born with it, but, talent is nothing without discipline, so you can be as talented as you want, but you need to still show up every day.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, what is something that has surprised you about building this business that you're building now?
When you start, you think it's, you just need a business plan, you need an idea, and you need pitch deck if you go to investors, and you need to start making content. But when you're actually sort of building it, it's a lot more confusing and complex than you would think it would be. Sort of like, you might have a business plan, but what are you including in that? What are you including in the pitch deck with the expenses? How are you doing the math on that? Content, what's your content strategy? So business can be so broad and content can be so broad, but how do you really niche down and find, and just how complicated it can be?
Yeah, I agree. Now, most adults, you've said a lot of words in what you just said. Most adults won't know what those words mean.
Yeah.
Right? Pitch decks, investors. Like, you know a lot about business for someone of your age.
Yeah.
Where did you learn about business?
I think just sort of my first business, like with my mum, Alpha Grips, we learned a lot from that. It kind of failed, but you learn a lot from just starting a business.
Yeah.
And also a lot from just YouTube and social media, free resources. So I think, I've just, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Now, I want to talk about you creating content because I love following your content. But from the 10th of December in 2025, there is a social media ban that's coming in. You are 13, you're 14 on Monday.
Yeah.
And it'll be banning everyone under the age of 16. What do you think about that?
I think it's a very lazy solution. I mean, a lot of teens sort of rely on social media. Like some teens might get bullied in real life, and then they come to social media to have their own little communities. And then when a government strips that away from them, I personally, I think suicide rates in the youth will increase tremendously because no one has that community to go through because they're being ruffled around in real life. And also, social media can be negative, but it shouldn't just ban everyone because a lot of people find positivity in it. Like it leads to so many connections. I've been able to connect with so many people from the US, from New Zealand, from all over Australia, from just purely social media. So you can make a lot of connections and just inspire other people from all over the world. And some people, they do get cyberbullied and it can lead to mental health issues. But I think it should be on the parents or a guardian to enforce that. If a parent wants you on social media.
I am quickly interrupting to let you know that all of the good stuff lives in our emails. Cheat sheets, exclusive events, workshops that we run for our community that are centered around marketing, social media, and personal branding. You can sign up for our emails in the show notes. Back to the episode.
They can allow you to be on social media. If your parents don't want you, then they disallow you from using it. So I think it shouldn't be up to the government to decide what all people under 16 do.
Yeah, because it kind of just puts that blanket over all kids under 16. Like there's kids like you that are using social media to actually build a business and solve a problem. Absolutely, there's no disregarding the fact that, cyberbullying happens and, mental health is a real problem. But I think you're right in the sense that, one of the main reasons of suicide, specifically male suicide, is loneliness.
Yeah.
And a lack of connection, right? And it's like if we don't have a form of connection, and whether that's online or in person, those rates are going to increase.
Yeah.
And that's really scary.
Yeah.
So what do you think if the government decides not to ban social media for under 16-year-olds in December, what is a better way that perhaps the government or parents or guardians can ensure that their kids are safe online?
I think, first of all, social media companies should have more stricter guidelines from what you can post, more moderation, but also just giving parents more knowledge about social media because most parents don't really know much about social media. So really giving parents that education and educating kids on the dangers and positives of it. So, I think just stricter rules, not necessarily a ban, and education on what positives and negatives can come from it.
Yeah, I agree. Now, speaking about platforms, do you prefer, I know you're very active on TikTok and Instagram, do you prefer one over the other?
Definitely. Well, I don't solely prefer one over the other, but Instagram for me is a lot better than TikTok. But I think it's just a lot cleaner UI wise, but also Instagram's a lot more professional and polished, I feel like. So it's easier and people are more serious on Instagram. I feel like TikTok's very 40-year-old Dan from Western Sydney. So I feel like it's Instagram can lead to more like real connections.
Legitimate connections. Yeah, okay. Versus TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you had to use one between now and the end of the year and you could only use one platform, would it be Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Talk me through, you're posting content every day?
Almost every day.
Almost every day. Talk me through, do you have like a schedule? Like I know you spoke about the fact that the night before you'll script something, then you'll come home, you'll record it, and then you edit it and post it. How do you stay consistent when it comes to posting content and sharing content?
I think it's just about a system, like make a system that works around your schedule because, for example, I would script a video the night before, I go to school, I film it, I edit it, and I post it. But just sort of having a system that works around your schedule is really important, and sticking to that. And also if you struggle with video ideas, for example, again, don't use AI to come up with video ideas, but yeah, coming up with video ideas in time where you're not really doing anything, like you could be going on a walk in the shower or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are like the best times to come up with ideas, and just coming up with a system that works for you.
Yeah. How do you make sure that you never run out of ideas?
I every couple times I scroll on social media, I try to look for video ideas. If I'm running out, look for inspiration. Most of the time, it'll sort of just be like an aha moment while I'm walking, or in the shower or something. And when those video ideas come up, I just remember them and write them down. But if I'm running out of ideas, I usually go to TikTok or Instagram and just scroll and just look for inspiration from other creators that are sort of in the business niche. And also on TikTok, they have this really good tool called Creator Search Insights, which I use a lot to find, trending videos in my niche and stuff.
Yeah, right. What advice would you give to somebody that's like, I don't have time to create content?
I would give them advice to, look at their schedule and if they have time in parts of the day, create a system that works for you. Because, I script a video the day before, but someone else could script it in the morning and film the video in the afternoon. So I think it's really just about finding a system that works for you.
Agreed.